Money may not be the root of all evil, but inequality is the root of much division. Every major era of turmoil in American history, slavery, the Gilded Age, the Great Depression, even today's polarization, has had one thing in common: a widening gap between those who have power and those who don't. Inequality doesn't just create poverty, it creates fear. And fear, when mixed with anger, becomes the perfect fuel for division. When people feel left behind, they start looking for someone to blame. Politicians and media figures know this. Instead of addressing the system that created the inequality, they point fingers at immigrants, at welfare recipients, at people of color. It's easier to find a scapegoat than to fix the structure. That's how economic inequality becomes social division. It keeps the public fighting each other instead of questioning why the richest 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. That's not an accident, it's strategy. The link between racism and economics runs deep. From slavery to segregation to redlining, the color line in America has always been an economic line. Racism wasn't just a belief system, it was a business model. Enslaved labor built the nation's wealth. After emancipation, Black Americans were excluded from loans, housing, and education programs that built the white middle class. Generations later, that gap still shapes opportunity. The Federal Reserve's 2022 data showed that the median white household has about 6 times the wealth of the median Black household. That's not about effort, it's about history. But here's what's often missed. Inequality doesn't just hurt the poor or the marginalized, it weakens democracy for everyone. When wealth and influence are concentrated at the top, the economy stops serving the public and starts serving the powerful. Wages stagnate, healthcare costs skyrocket, and small businesses struggle to compete. Ordinary citizens begin to lose faith in the system, and that's when demagogues step in. They tell people that the problem isn't greed or corruption, it's diversity. They say your real enemy isn't the billionaire who closed your factory, it's the immigrant who moved into your neighborhood. That lie has been repeated for generations because it works. But division doesn't raise wages. It doesn't lower rent. It doesn't create opportunity. It just keeps the same few people at the top while the rest of us argue over crumbs. Economists call this the politics of distraction. Keep people emotionally divided and they'll never unite economically. But when they do unite, when working people of all races demand fair pay, health care, and education, the system has to change. That's why unity has always been the greatest threat to entrenched power. The labor movements of the 1930s, the civil rights coalitions of the 1960s, and even modern movements for fair wages and healthcare all share one goal: to make democracy mean something beyond a vote, to make it mean dignity. Inequality feeds polarization because it feeds resentment. When people feel invisible, they stop believing in fairness. When they stop believing in fairness, they stop believing in democracy. That's why economic reform isn't just about dollars, it's about trust. Closing the wealth gap isn't charity, it's stability. A strong middle class, affordable housing, access to education, these aren't luxuries. They're the foundation that keep nations from tearing themselves apart. The truth is, America has enough wealth for everyone to live securely. What we don't have is the political will to share it fairly. The good news is that we can change that. History shows that societies can choose balance over greed. The New Deal did it. The GI Bill did it. We can do it again. When people have economic dignity, they're less vulnerable to fear and hate. They stop looking for enemies and stop building solutions. Unity isn't just moral, it's practical. A divided nation wastes its strength. A united one multiplies it. We can't heal America's division without fixing its inequalities, and we can't fix its inequities without remembering that justice and prosperity are meant to rise together.